This is the Transforming Anxiety podcast with mindfulness teacher Kelly Hanlon McCormick. And today is episode number 275, Friction Points. My intention for this conversation is that we wake up to the things that are just low level, not working in our lives, and can identify them as friction points, if that's what they are, so that we can start to work with them. Welcome in. It's the Transforming Anxiety podcast, episode number 275, Friction Points. I'm so glad you're here. Hey there. Welcome in today. How are you? How's the week? It's starting to feel like fall around here. There's crunching leaves. There's really chilly nights. We had our first freeze warning here in Kansas City. It's getting dark so much earlier. And so, yes, it's horror movie season. Where do you stand on scary movies? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Do you feel like there's something about being cozy, like under a blanket on the couch when it's dark outside, and watching something spooky that just like goes together? Peanut butter and chocolate, I tell you. My older son and I, we are all into scary movies. We watch a few of the Friday the 13th movies every year, right? Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Scream. Oh my gosh, Scream. What a franchise. So good. We watched The Terrifier the other night. Have you heard of this or seen this one? Total low budget ridiculousness. But listen, I guess it's working. The third in that series is out in theaters now. So I guess they're onto something. Anyway, I want to hear what you think about Halloween and scary movies. Are you ready to just skip ahead to the Hallmark Christmas movies instead? Because I know you're out there too. I know. All right. So yes, today I want to talk about friction points. This is something I've been practicing with and something I've been paying attention to in my own life. And I've started having some conversations with students about it. So I thought it was time to bring it to you here on the podcast. Friction points. These are the little, or honestly not so little, moments during the day where things feel a little tricky or a little clumsy. Like when things don't flow smoothly, when you bump up against a habit or a routine or a whole situation that just doesn't really work. So friction points are also times or moments or places or whole situations that really put a stop to your day. It's like you have to completely change gears or refocus, and you wind up feeling fragmented, distracted, or like you just can't settle into what you're doing because you aren't fully there. That's part of this. Does this resonate yet? Do you know what I mean? I'll give you some examples. And I just want to say before I go through some of these examples that these are, by and large, these are pretty silly. They seem trivial, and they kind of are, yes, but they are also everyday enough. They happen often enough. We run into them and we experience them regularly enough that it matters. So, one example, this is small, but oh my goodness, this one gets me. To get into my car, I go downstairs into the garage, down a full flight of stairs. I'm usually carrying my bag. Sometimes I got some work stuff, usually a mug and or a Yeti. Sometimes the kids have stuff or we have the dog with us or whatever. Our hands are usually full. And then we go downstairs and it's like this whole jumble trying to get the doors opened and shut and into the car with all the stuff. It just feels like this weird trek to get down there and balance everything, like literally balance everything. So I put a small table right inside the garage door. It's for staging things, like something coming in or out, put it on the table. Make it easy. No need for us to look like the cat in the hat with all the things teetering on top of one another. Just put it on the table. It felt like a friction point was eliminated. Another example. Again, this is kind of silly, but my first house was this 100-year-old Tudor, like gingerbread, really cute looking thing. So cute. And it was so boxy. So there were these little rooms on the first floor, and the floor plan itself didn't really flow like newer houses and floor plans tend to do. But that wasn't the friction point. The friction point was the previous owner had added on to the kitchen and had extended that room into the backyard so that it almost doubled the size of the kitchen, which sounds cool, but it was like this weird peninsula at the back of the house. Like it didn't join in with the rest of the house, and it was just tricky to know how to use that space. So I'd put a small table back there, and it just never really got used. And then I tried to make it cute with some like kitchen storage and shelves and stuff, but that just felt like cluttered and extraneous. And then I had this moment where, I kid you not, I was like, wait a second. This is my kitchen. This is my house. I can do whatever I want to here. Meaning I could make that extra nook into, at the time, a little playroom for my kids. Because they were really, really little at the time. I needed to keep a constant eye on them. And because of the whole boxy layout of the house, this was tricky. So I made it so that I could cook, I could make a cup of tea, I could clean up the kitchen, and they could be playing and occupied, right? It was like this friction point. What do I do with this room? And how do I get all this stuff done? And once I thought about it, I just did something kind of atypical with that extra kitchen space, right? No magazine is ever going to be like, here's totally what you should do, right? But it really worked. It was a friction point and it was eliminated. Okay, so again, totally ridiculous. Those are some silly around the house logistical things. But some other friction points could be when you get caught in the same never-ending loop of to-dos. Because, surprise, the to-do list is infinite. You won't ever be done with it. But you realize that you have this idea, this story in your mind that you still aren't caught up, that you're still behind, that you're still not getting it all done. That is a friction point in your thinking. You see what I'm saying? It's something that you stumble over in your mind all the time. So maybe you notice that you, consistently feel anxious about things. Like it's your go-to emotion whenever things start to heat up around you, or if things get a little chaotic or uncertain, and you go straight to anxiety. There's a sense that you get caught in that emotion because it just shows up all the time, right? That's a friction point. It is this thing that keeps showing up. It keeps slowing you down in a way, and it repeats and it repeats and it spins you around, and there's no upside to it. It's just one of those things that makes it feel like your hours, your days, your life doesn't flow like it could. It makes it feel like you're caught and you're stuck and there's just a huge amount of friction to overcome. That's a friction point in your feelings. Now, there are also whole categories of life, typically of adulting, that can also feel like huge friction points. Like for some people, it's something like decluttering, cleaning the bathrooms, getting the yard taken care of so that it really looks and feels good. For some people, it's things like finances, financial health, financial freedom, right? Getting their money and their debt and their savings and their investing all into order so that they know exactly what they're doing and how, and they can project out how things are going to look for them in 5 years, in 10 years, in retirement, right? Finances are a big friction point for people. Sometimes it's things like what's in the kitchen, right? What junk foods or comfort foods just keep them coming back, right? It's a friction point if it's something that on the one hand, you don't want to be buying or eating or having around because you know that it's not what's good for you. But on the other hand, it just tastes so good, just makes you feel better in the moment. So you do buy it and eat it and have it around just in case you need to feel better. For other people, this could be exercise or sleep or relationship dynamics, right? These ways that life isn't really flowing and working, and it just winds up feeling like Groundhog Day because, it's like this again, this again, this again. It's like you're not surprised by the struggle, but you're also maybe not looking at the struggle and facing it directly. So the struggle is something that just keeps showing up again and again. It's just always there. Friction, after all, it's the resistance that shows up when you rub things together. So when life rubs against you, your friction points show up, right? Where do things slow down? Where do things feel abrasive? Where do you notice that you get caught, or that you feel worn, or that you can't get into a flow? These are really good signals. They are important to tune into. Sometimes it's something as simple as putting a little table in the garage or rearranging a small room. Sometimes it's a matter of doing a much deeper dive into your mind and your thought patterns. Maybe it's learning how to really and truly process emotions. We adults don't know how to do this naturally, for sure. Sometimes it's being willing to take a serious look at something that feels really difficult or really icky. Things like health, finances, habits, exercise, relationships, work, goals, dreams. I even think of I know this is seemingly funny, but the little friction points of going to the dentist, right? Checking the mail, logging into your credit card statement. These little friction points of I don't want to do that, but I have to do it. Meeting with your accountant, vacuuming, right? They're everywhere, these little friction points. So, like I said, I'm becoming aware of these friction points in my life. Places where I seem to kind of spin out, or places where I get frustrated, or I just do that same Groundhog Day loop of something that does not feel useful, doesn't feel like it's working in my life. And I'm using those places as hints. These are little reminders to pause and for me to say, okay, wait, is there something else I could be doing? Is there something else I could see or feel or try here? 3 simple questions I always love to keep in the mix. What's working? What's not working? And what do I need to do differently? And then I give myself permission to change things up. This feels like a real epiphany to me. Maybe it does to you too. But most of us, we have blinders on. And it's we keep on keeping on, even though things aren't working. Even though we're struggling a bit. Even though we're feeling the friction points in our lives and they're wearing on us in big ways and small ways. And sometimes, honestly, it's the really little stuff that takes the biggest toll, because those are the everyday, ordinary, do it all the time kinds of things that we just don't ever escape from. And so they keep wearing at us like that drop of water, right? Over and over years and decades and centuries, that drop of water will wind up eroding rocks and boulders and mountains. Yeah? Now, per usual, this isn't one of those prescriptive kinds of things. I don't have some magical 3-step plan or 5 things you can do to get out of this. I don't have those ideas for you because I don't think that's what we need. Truly, this is yours. And think about it this way. Your friction points are yours. The reasons they rub up against you and feel kind of terrible, that's yours and it's particular to you. The reasons that you got here and how all that came to be, that's yours too. But here's the really important part. The way that you notice and consider and then perhaps create change around your friction points, that whole process has to be yours in order for it to work. Truly. Because if anyone hands you a roadmap, there's already something lost. The person who got to create the roadmap, they're the ones who reap all the benefits of doing the work of figuring out what was working, what wasn't working, and what needed to happen differently. They tried things, trial and error style, right? They brainstormed, they came up with ideas. Basically, they showed up, they put in the whole effort. And the effort is actually the thing we want. I know it's tempting to ask for the shortcut and just get to the good part already, but it's not that. It doesn't work that way. The only way we get to the good stuff, where life is flowing and there's more ease and a stronger sense of steadiness or calm or contentment, the only way there is through. So I can't give you the how-to guide. And anybody else who promises you that they have a how-to guide, I'd be a little suspicious of, honestly. I can only say, become aware. See where your friction points are. Be willing to notice them, acknowledge them, and then ask what you want to change, if anything. And then we can go to work. Because here's what we could do. We could create your roadmap together. It's something you'll have to work on. But hey, I'd love to be in on it with you. That's what I do with my students when we work together one-on-one. We create roadmaps. We create the how-to guides using tools and practices and techniques from all kinds of places, from the world of psychology, the world of mindfulness, thought work, yoga philosophy, you name it. And we use these teachings, things that science says works. And we create the roadmaps and the how-to guides together based on those teachings. So if you're finding some friction points, if you have some places that you're looking at and you're thinking, this isn't going great, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out together. Yeah? Usually goes better with some perspective and outside support. I'm just saying. So, friction points. Yeah, short and sweet today. I hope this helps though, and that you can find some places where you're a little off, maybe a little frustrated, a little miserable even. And you can go, okay, wait a second. I can change this. I can create something new for myself here. I can use this. Friction points are the places where there are opportunities and possibilities, and I'm here to do it with you. You can find out more about that over at my website, kellyhanlonmccormick.com. All right, that's it for today. I will see you next week at the same time, same place, for more transforming anxiety. And until then, please take care. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, for doing this work alongside me. Thank you for sharing this with your friends and your family, anyone who, could use the support and the guidance, who could use these teachings and practices. Thank you for sharing your stories with me, telling me about your experiences and asking your questions. I'm here with you. Let's do this together. Transforming anxiety.